Today in the show, we're going to be talking about Superboy Prime. If you didn't know that he was actually innocent all along, then this show is for you. So Superboy Prime, he would first appear in DC Comics Presents number 87 in 1985. Superboy Prime actually comes from a universe called Earth Prime, which is not to be confused with Prime Earth, which is the current DC Universe continuity. In Earth Prime, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, everyone from DC Comics are comic book characters published by DC Comics. However, there are a number of similarities with the rest of the DC multiverse. Like, for example, when Superboy Prime was young, he was actually adopted and named Clark. Little did his adoptive parents know, he was actually a Kryptonian. For 15 long years, he was just your average all-American boy. Then one night, he went to a Halloween party, ironically dressed as Superboy, and then Haley's comic would pass overhead and activate his Kryptonian genes. So Superboy Prime did not start out as bad. Then in Crisis on Infinite Earths, the light of the Anti-Monitor would consume Earth Prime, meaning he has now lost everything and everyone that he loves. Superboy Prime would keep fighting until the end of the crisis. Even when told to back away, he just kept fighting. And he did this because the only thing that kept him going was knowing he was fighting on the side of good. If he lost that, he would have lost everything. Then after the crisis, Superboy Prime, Superman of Earth 2, Lois Lane and Alexander Luthor Jr. would all go to a paradise dimension. But Superboy Prime would seclude himself in the dimension just watching events of his past life in Earth Prime. Prime would start to get angry. He would start to get homesick and not know how to vent out his emotions. And Alexander Luthor Jr. took advantage of this and pointed out all the flaws in New Earth and said that the wrong Earth had been saved. Prime would begin to punch the barrier of reality, and this would cause ripples through the DC universe, causing a number of changes. These changes included Superman and Donna Troy's origins being altered, and the Doom Patrol and Jason Todd coming back. Then Alexander Luthor Jr. and Superboy Prime would combine their powers and break through into reality and get the gears turning for Infinite Crisis. First, Alexander Luthor Jr. takes control of the Brother Eye satellite, which gives him control of the OMAX, which lets him find out which heroes were originally from other universes. Then Superboy Prime moves about a number of planets in the universe and causes the Ranthangar War, which causes the center of the universe to be shifted. Alexander Luthor Jr. would pretend to be Lex Luthor, create a new secret society of supervillains, and all of them would go about kidnapping beings that were originally from different universes because he planned to use them as beacons to bring back the other universes. Then Alexander convinces the Spectre to destroy all magic, which leaves a raw version of magic in its place, which Alexander uses to power his multiversal tower. Then right at the end of this insane chain of events, Superboy Prime destroys the JLA Watchtower and kidnaps Martian Manhunter. It would soon be revealed that Superboy Prime believes that the wrong Earth was saved in Crisis on Infinite Earths, so he and Alexander want to create a perfect Earth. Prime is also jealous of Connor Kent, the actual Superboy, so Prime goes to attack Superboy to kill him, and he didn't expect the Justice Society, the Doom Patrol, and the Titans to turn up to save Superboy. Prime then kills Panther, is horrified that he killed a person for like half a second, and then kills several other people, and this causes Jay Garrick, Wally West, and Bart Allen to drive Superboy Prime into the Speed Force to keep him imprisoned for a relative 4 years. However, in reality, only a few hours passed, so after a few hours, Bart Allen would reappear in Barry Allen's Flash costume and is 4 years older and would say that Superboy Prime has escaped and he's on his way back. Skipping forward a little bit and cutting out just a little bit of twaddle, Prime would attack Wonder Girl, which would cause Connor to attack Prime, and at the end of this fight, the multiversal tower would be destroyed and Connor Kent would die. But this would also cause all the alternate Earths that had been created to merge into one single Earth yet again. Alexander then decides, okay, I can't create the perfect Earth, I'll just take over this Earth instead. But Superboy Prime saw New Earth as inferior in every way. He didn't want to take over New Earth, so he refused to help Alexander. Prime would then go to cause a second Big Bang, thus destroying everything, but he is stopped by Superman and is taken into custody by the Guardians of the Universe. Here he's placed in a containment field, which is guarded by a red Sun Eater and 50 Green Lanterns. While imprisoned, he carves a Superman symbol into his bare flesh. Eventually, Prime would be released by the Sinestro Corps and he would join them, and he would become the Anti-Monitor's herald. Now you may be wondering, why is Prime working with the Anti-Monitor when the Anti-Monitor destroyed his home? Prime is just biding his time. He's waiting for the perfect opportunity to get revenge. And that's exactly what he does. The Anti-Monitor would eventually be wounded and Prime would fly through his bare chest and throw him into space. Then one of the Guardians would kill themselves to destroy Prime, but Prime is actually just sent into the multiverse. Prime begins searching through the multiverse for Earth Prime and is unable to find it, and he eventually finds Earth 15 and destroys the planet. Later, we see Prime has built his base of operations in the Source Wall, and here he is torturing Mr. McSpitlick into helping him rebuild Earth Prime. But then Anataz would help McSpitlick escape, so Superboy Prime would destroy Anataz and McSpitlick got away. Prime would then go to the monitors to ask where Earth Prime was, which left every reader wondering why he didn't do this in the first place, and the monitors would reveal that Earth Prime is also Earth 51, but it's not perfect. In fact, it's in war. Prime would go to Monarch, the person that caused the war, to challenge them, but it turned out that Monarch was naturally stronger than Prime, and the two of them had a massive fight, and it seemingly destroyed the whole Earth 51 universe. The Time Trapper then finds Superboy Prime lost in time and sends him to the 31st century, hoping that Superboy Prime would destroy the Legion of Superheroes. So naturally, when Superboy Prime got to the 31st century and found out that history hardly remembered him, he vowed to become the greatest villain of all time. He would then release Saturn Queen, Lightning Lord, and Cosmic King from the prison planet of Tarkaron Galtos. All of them were happy to see Prime because they had been following his example for a very long time. Prime was mentioned in history as a dark being. Prime would then burn the Superman S symbol into the prison planet, hoping that it will turn that symbol of hope into a symbol of terror. The Legion of Superheroes would look in historical records to see what to do, and would find out that according to historical records, Superboy Prime went missing after the whole issue of the Sinestro Corps. So the Legion calls Superman forward from the 21st century. Superman brings in two other versions of the Legion and has the bright idea to redeem Prime, and by doing so it should neutralize the threat. While all this was going on, Prime set up his own legion of supervillains. A massive fight would break out, and in this fight, Bart Allen and Connor Kent would be returned from the dead. And also, Superboy Prime would actually be injured by two Legionnaires, but Superboy Prime would promptly kill them. It's then revealed elsewhere that the Time Trapper is just an older version of Superboy Prime, and then Connor Kent uses heat vision on Superboy Prime, hurting him, and it's revealed that any damage done to Superboy Prime is also done to the Time Trapper. Prime and the Time Trapper would then start bickering, which would cause the two of them to fight and seemingly destroy each other in a paradox. However, in comics, being destroyed doesn't necessarily mean being destroyed. In this case, it meant he was returned to Earth Prime, where he found out all of his family and friends had read every single comic that he had been in and were now terrified of him. With his family terrified of him and without a social life to speak for, he began living in his parents' basement, spending his days on the internet, living as an internet troll. He read every single comic book constantly and was always on the DC Comics message boards, until eventually he realized everyone just saw him as a really annoying joke. Then Action Comics number 4 would be released, which was a 2-part story. And in issue number 5, apparently Superboy Prime was going to die. So he went about looking for the issue, but it was impossible because it wasn't on shelves yet. Alexander Luthor Jr. would then turn up and give Superboy Prime his powers back to heighten his emotions. So Superboy Prime would fly to New York to DC Comics' office to take revenge on the writers. But before this could happen, Alexander Luthor Jr. teleports Superboy Prime back to his basement where he destroys his comic book collection. Accepting his death, Superboy Prime puts on a Black Lantern ring. But something goes wrong, and it ends up fluctuating through the emotional spectrum, thus causing all the nearby Black Lanterns to disappear. Prime is now overwhelmed with emotions. He sees that they have turned him into a monster, and he's just not entitled to a happy ending anymore. Laurie then comes into his basement and tells him that they have heard him and promised to leave him alone from now on. They, of course, are the writers at DC Comics. Then when the Titans were fighting a villain called Headcase, Headcase would open a wormhole, and through this wormhole would come Superboy Prime. He is bitter that he's not being left alone, so he promises that he is going to kill off the Titans and then return home. So he gathers a bunch of young supervillains who all have a personal vendetta against the Titans. Prime also brings along several clones of Superboy, but they weren't exactly that great in the fight. In fact, they were taken down by Rose Wilson and Damian, which was possibly one of my favorite parts of the fight. What Prime didn't count on was the fact that the Titans are an incredibly huge group. So every Titan ever that has existed turned up for this fight. This resulted in his team being defeated, and Superboy and Supergirl imprisoned Superboy Prime in the Source Wall, finishing him off once and for all. He has not yet appeared in the New 52, but theoretically, knowing the lore of the Source Wall, he is quite possibly still trapped in it. So if DC were going to build a bridge linking back to the old continuity, it could possibly be done through Superboy Prime and the Source Wall. Prime is a really weird character for me because I like him because I hate him. I can't see him fitting anywhere in the DC universe at the moment, but I can see him fitting in somewhere like 2 to 3 years in the future. I feel like people need to try and get into Superboy Prime's head and understand his perspective of things, and then hate him.
It's super effective!
Okay guys, that is it for today. If you think I forgot anything important about Superboy Prime, please let me know in the comments down below. And also don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more history videos. And also don't forget to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, support the show by checking out my Patreon so I can make bigger and better and more history videos. And also don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel. My name is Faust, this has been Exploring Comics, and it is super effective.